There we go. It does what it needs to do every single time. Morning, Texas. It is, we are in the month of March. I can't even believe it. Just think of it as quarter done is complete, right? And so we have a whole lot of the year left. However, there's a lot of people that are like really thinking winning right now and feeling good about life. There's people that are ramping up to win in life, and we are going to have a great power up this morning. I was telling someone this week that sometimes you do all the right things and success comes fast to you. Sometimes you do all the right things and success comes a little slower. And sometimes you don't work very much and expect success to come to you. So, it's like we all fit into different boats in different times of our lives, but today we've got lots of shout outs to start with. So shout outs, gratitude, anything that you want to recognize a team member or somebody for. Brandon, I saw your hand up and I am ready to go.
What's up? Hey, Gail. Nice to see you. Big fan, first time listener. No. So yeah, shout out for a couple things here. So shout out to Alma here in San Antonio. She's been really working on the skill of taking expireds. She's probably done over 40, I would say, maybe 30 to 40 appointments this year so far. And we've been working on that conversion. So she took a expired listing this week. So it's starting to, we've worked from call to contact to appointment to convert it to business. And so that's cool. And she got a pending this week too. Something that's happening, like it's happening in a lot of markets, is as the appreciation went up so fast over the last few years, the first time home buyers getting kind of pushed out of that price. So she had someone very tight on the numbers that she's been working with for a couple months now. And she went and found them a deal, 10K off the price, 9K of concessions with down payment assistance. And I think the house is under contract at 225 when comps are at 237 or something like that. Nice. So she's staying busy. And then I've been talking about open houses for like the last 2 months now. So far this month, or I guess we're in March. So for February, shout out to Kyla and Tamala, both did 10 open houses, really pushing that lead gen lever, and it's working. They're taking business from it. They've gotten listings off it recently, buyers. Tamala pended 2 last weekend. 1 was from an open house, I believe. So shout out to her. And then Kaylee, I'm not sure if I shouted this out last week, but she also had a expired listing appointment that's going to sign with her and list a little bit later in the year. So shout out to them for that.
Dang, those Legion levers are hot right now. Nice job, San Antonio. Very cool.
And then from my perspective, just there's some things happening within place and with things that are being moved forward that have been talked about for years. And so that gratitude goes to you, obviously, Adelina, because you're the one that brought me in and helped build me up and do all the stuff that we needed to do to get to where we are today. So I appreciate you for that.
Man, I love a good partnership because it takes both of us to really kill it. So I love that. Great job, Brandon. Love that. Valencia with her new hairstyle, guys. Check it out.
Hey, Texas, good morning. I want to give a huge shout out to our ops team, our director of operations, Leah, and her partner in crime, Sarah. They have been doing an amazing job behind the scenes, directing the entire circus and dealing with personal life, from deaths in their family to even car trouble, and they're still rocking it and crushing it. You would never know because they just keep everything so smooth, and I absolutely love and adore them for doing that. So way to go, Davis team, ops.
Man, I love that you just said circus, because boy, that's how it feels behind the scenes. Oh, I love that. Michaela, good morning.
Hey, good morning from super dreary and sad weather Dallas. I just want to give a huge shout out to, we have 3 new agents starting March launch. Riley Alexander, who you can see. We have Sydney Palmer, who I think might be popping on, and then Jordan Stett as well. So I just want to, like, if everyone wants to congratulate them and give them some pump up energy in the chat, that would be awesome, because they're already killing it in their pre-launch week, and yeah, we're excited to see what they do.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, welcome, guys and gals. Lots of exciting things happening over there, and it's just as dreary here in Austin, by the way. I don't know what's up with the weather. Gail, like, you brought the weather. I feel like all of our sun is gone and Washington State is here. Couple shout outs on my end. I want to shout out Maria Galizia in Austin. She hosted a broker open house, the first one post-COVID for us, so we don't do them very often. She had around 35 people in attendance, which is really awesome. And it wasn't all our team, right? Our team isn't quite that big. And then I want to shout out Daniel Weiser in Austin. He penned a $1.1 million one last week from Expireds. So that was really fun. And then I want to shout out Memo in Austin. He penned 7 deals in February, 7 deals, just went out and crushed it. And I remember we talked at the beginning of the year and we were like, okay, like where's the business going to come from? Because there wasn't enough on the board. And then he just went to work. So that was very cool. Shout out to Donica, one of our virtual assistants, actually our lead virtual assistant. She's amazing. 2-year anniversary serving our team. And talk about circus. We definitely could not survive without her. And then last shout out that I had on my list was Faith and Jenny, who support our team so hugely. They handled all listings and all pendings this week, while Mackenzie, who is in charge of those, is on vacation. She's on a cruise, like a festival cruise, which I didn't know they do festival cruises. Like I didn't know like you could just go like listen to music and party, but apparently that's a thing and like people do it. And stresses me out, but like the rest of you guys who are much younger than me, that is so cool that you guys do stuff like that. But Faith and Jenny crushed it. And I'm so happy to see like everything come together. You guys know how it is. Like, even if you're in sales, right? Like your first year is kind of like, you're trying to piece it all together. And then your second year, you're like, oh, it came together. And then your third year, you're like, okay, I feel good now, right? Same thing happens in ops. So super proud of everybody. Then we have Mass Action Day next week. If you are tracking for that, I'm sure Chris will probably talk about it this Friday on the call. Mass Action Day is awesome. We didn't immediately, if you guys aren't doing like a lot of the place cadences, like we didn't like buy into them either at the beginning. So it took us like a solid year to really like realize the importance and the value of the place cadences. And so we're like about a year into like really doing them. Mass Action Day is awesome to just get a lot of action done. And so we are excited about that. It's next Wednesday. It happens every other month, not every month, but every other month. So it's placed nationwide, which is cool. And then Built How is like in like a little over 2 weeks. It's like basically here. We are going to have a Texas dinner. Those of you who are joining us, I think last count, there was 31 of us so far. So if you've been kind of on the fence, number one, hotels are a little more expensive in Palm Springs than they are in Phoenix. However, there's so many options, right? You do not have to stay on site. There's like different hotels, like all within like a mile. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And I think it's going to be super fun. So if you happen to fly into LAX, and want to carpool or anything like that, we definitely have people in Austin who would like to carpool with you. So just kind of keep it going, and we can't wait to see everyone. And I think that's all my announcements, unless I've missed something. Anybody know if I've missed anything? Those of you guys in the know, the ones that organize people, the Michaelas of the world, the Valencias of the world, like the Brands of the world, a little bit more organized than me. I just put it on like quick. Okay, I feel like that should be it then. We've got all our announcements and our gratitudes. So this morning, raise your hand if you have ever heard Gail Smith speak before, or okay, a few of you. Okay, cool, good. So she's not a stranger, but if this is a first time for you, I'm gonna go ahead and spotlight her, only because you guys would love to see her. It's 6:41 her time, you guys. So if you guys are feeling like it's early, it's way earlier for Gail, super early. So we thank you for being here this morning, Gail.
Well, I usually get up about this time. 6:30 is my kind of, I'm not an morning person, by the way. Like, don't talk to me till I hit the shower. Usually people say, don't talk to me till I have coffee, but I literally, it's feet on the ground in the shower. So it's really about a 2-second that you don't talk to me. But this morning I was up at 5:30. So yeah, a little bit early, but that's okay. It feels good. Feels good to get up early. I probably should do this every morning. But
I was gonna say every once in a while, maybe not every morning. I'm not,
I know.
not morning
All those
enough.
people like the Brandons and Karens of the world that get up and do the workouts, and I just adore them. But
Good for
sorry.
them, right?
Good for them. That's not me.
I totally get that. So guys, where I got this idea to bring Gail on, other than like I could bring Gail on for any topic basically, but I was sharing with the place operators, I think last month, that we pended like a big Brivity lead. It was like 700 something thousand. And we were like so excited. And I was like, guys, these leads work, you know? And Gail got on there and she was like, oh, you wouldn't believe the stories of the leads that, her and her team are converting. And she was like, yeah, these Brivity crappy leads. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's a perfect Zoom topic. Brivity crappy leads. Because, if you haven't thought it, you're a better person than some of us. So I know majority have thought, man, are these leads even good? Right. And man, I love to hear the success stories and like kind of success tactics. But before we get there, not everybody knows who Gail is. So Gail, give us kind of like down and dirty, like where you from, with background, kind of how'd you get here?
Let's see. Oh, I've been in the business almost 7 years now. I retired twice before. I know. Can you believe that crap? Twice before I retired, once in my early 40s, and then the last time when I got remarried. My husband passed away, and I had just retired, and I decided to go back to work. And then when I remarried, I decided I didn't want him dying on me really quick. So I thought I'll just spend a lot of time with him. So I retired again. And then I got bored. And it was actually my son that came up with the idea, you should go get your real estate license. I think you'd do really well at it. And for those of you that don't know, as you guys know him, Brivity Bob is my son.
Oh, congratulations, I think.
Yeah, he's a pretty good kid.
He's an amazing kid.
I have 3 other boys though too. So I have 4 boys.
Oh man. Okay. So you were a mom, plenty busy, career, definitely for many, many years. What was your career field, or what were you involved in before real estate?
I came out of the home improvement arena. I was an executive vice president for a large big box home improvement store. So I was at the pretty high corporate level. There was like the CEO above me, and that was it. And that's who I retired out of the first time. And then when I went back to work, I worked for one of the largest flooring distribution companies in the US as their vice president of operations / CFO. My educational background is in finance.
Okay. Wow, you're like one of the few people who actually used your background for something, right? The rest
I know. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I know, right? Right on. I hear that. Hold on, I'm gonna mute one person. There we go. I've spent quite a bit of time with Gail in the last week, I feel like, just because with all the, Brandon alluded to all the wonderful things that are happening, and Ben and Chris, have talked about, a lot of the growth of the company and what that means for all of us. And it's been so nice to have someone like Gail who's been through it all, right? A lot of, we always talk about like when a new agent joins our team, that's awesome. It brings new energy, right? When somebody seasoned is on our team, that's awesome. That brings a different kind of energy, right? So everyone in this company has value, and man, you've been so valuable to us all the time. How was your first year? Do you have a decent year, good year? 7 years ago now.
I closed 79 sides, 600 and I think it was 667,000 GCI. just shy of 25 million in volume.
What do you attribute that to?
I don't attribute to myself. If you really want the honest truth, I didn't really know anything. And to be honest, had I done the entire thing that I was taught to do, which was include my sphere, and that's a whole nother side story, I would have literally closed 85 deals.
Ah, dang. Okay.
So I worked the system out, Alina, exactly like they told me. and you've heard this story before, exactly as they told me the first month. Exactly. I didn't do one more open house than they recommended, and I did not do one less. And I did not do one single more call every day, nor did I do one less call every day.
Got it.
And that first month, I probably got lucky, and I managed to get one person under contract. And it dawned on me that the minimum standards were going to produce the minimum results.
Oh,
And so I just mentally decided the second month on that if I wanted more results than the minimum, which I did, that I was going to have to up my activities. And so that's what I did.
yeah. I don't know how I've missed that for so many years. Yeah, minimum standards equals minimum results.
Yeah, I
Right?
talk to my agents a lot about that when they're like, this isn't working. And, and sometimes minimum standards when you start aren't even going to produce minimum results when you start. And that's evidenced by what Brandon said earlier, in that, the person that was really working on, getting all the appointments, but now had to be able to work on the conversion and scripting and all of that kind of stuff. So we get better, obviously, at conversion and things like that as we practice more. It's funny, we just had that conversation yesterday. I have a new agent. She says, why do we have to practice the same scripts all over and over and again? I said, because you're not good at them yet. I mean, that's the bottom line. She's not good at them yet, and neither am I. I mean, every time we practice, we get better.
Absolutely. And were you, how far away were you from your team at that point?
150 miles, 3 hours with no traffic, but 3.5 hours actually with traffic. And that was 3.5 hours if I left at 5 o'clock. Now, those days I wasn't getting up early. I had to leave at 5 a.m. So I drove up there in the beginning. Well, the first couple of weeks I actually stayed up there. And then after that, I drove up 3 days a week. And then I went to 2 days a week. And then I drove up 1 day a week minimum, probably for my entire first year.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So, let's talk Brivity. Like, what is your mindset around like Brivity leads as a whole? Like, how, when you think of it, like, what comes to mind?
Well, let me just give you a little bit of background and the way we did work them and the way we work them now, and the difference in the conversion. Okay. So I actually started buying Brivity leads. I was actually one of Ben's first team I was his first team actually, that used Brivity on the outside of the transaction management side. So in the beginning, we used it as transaction management side, but we were using a different CRM for our, keeping track of our clients and everything. So when I launched my own team in 2018, Ben said to me, we're going to use, we're going to just move your stuff over in our old CRM, and we're going to put you, just keep you in Brivity on the transaction. And I said, no, we're not. I knew that we were really close to launching everybody. And I said, I am not teaching my agents 2 systems. I'm just not going to do it. So he agreed begrudgingly. So I was kind of the test one. So we started buying, and that was kind of the same time that they were actually rolling out where they were selling, doing the Brivity leads, where we could buy Brivity leads. So we started buying home valuation and buyer leads. And I did that for about 8 months. And unfortunately, Gail didn't inspect what she expected. My responsibility totally. And one day I just decided to sit down and see how we were converting those leads, and I was appalled. And as I started going through them deeper, I found that those leads, in about 80% of the time plus, actually did put their house on the market within about 3 months.
Oh, that's brutal.
And we got none of them.
Yeah.
And it just made me sick to my stomach, because I was like, oh my God, we're all these leads. And so we backed up and I stopped buying them. And I told my team, I'm not buying any more leads until you guys start converting the ones that we have. So we backtracked and started just kind of, did a system more systematized of how are we going to handle these leads and what are we going to do with them. So we just kind of came up with a system of, address only leads. How are we going to handle them? We got to look them up. We got to get the names. We got to door knock if we need to. We've got to then verify them, whatever. So round 2 was about probably a year later. We started again and we did better. But still not converting probably at the rate that we should. And Adelina, it wasn't actually till probably in the last 6 months or 8 months that we really, really got really good at them. And we've really gotten good, to be honest, since we shut down Mojo.
Really?
Yes.
What the heck? Okay, tell us about that.
Well, it was Jacqueline. So wasn't my idea. I stole it from Jacqueline. So in the end of August, Jacqueline ran a contest with her team about trying to get, these leads that were getting converted. She said, I had all these leads and we were like, we're paying for more leads and we're using Mojo to get more leads. And I got all these leads that I paid for and they're sitting in our database and they're probably good leads. And, so they concentrated on, and they just had a contest. So they made teams and they made it fun and whatever. So I adopted that contest and we literally we started with all the leads in our system that had not been called this year, which basically, if they hadn't been called this year, that was pretty much all of our leads in our system. And we just systematically started working through them and we got it down to 0, actually a week before the contest ended.
Okay.
But here's what we did. When we were done, we were like, yay, we got it to 0. And then we kind of stopped. And Jacqueline, I had a conversation with Jacqueline and I said, Jacqueline, have your people stopped? Because I noticed that our call rates were climbing back up. We had a turnover rate in our database of like 5. It was taking us like 5 months to turn our database over. I mean, it was crazy, horrible. It was a horrible turnover rate. So, she said, my people kept going. And she said, and the other thing I did was she said, I took Mojo down. I said, you did what? She said, I took Mojo down. I said, well, how do your people call? She said, they call into Brivity. I said, well, how do they, do open houses? She said, oh, they were just using that as an excuse anyway. They weren't doing it. She said, so now we door knock and whatever. So I said, okay, let's see. How are we going to do this? So I presented it to my team. And they said the same thing. They said, oh, we can't take Mojo down. How are we gonna circle prospect for open houses? And I said, well, you're not doing it anyway. And they said, yes, we are. And I said, okay, here's the agreement. We're gonna take it down and I'm gonna keep 1 triple line dialer and we'll keep 2 seats and we'll do it for a month. And you guys, if you need to use it, I'll just have a sign in for the seat that you guys can just use to sign in. And so we did it for a month and nobody used it. So I met again and I said, okay, it's gone. And so then we systematically started really working on our Brivity. So we actually, since we started this really hard push on it, we have doubled our appointments every month.
Really?
Yes.
Just by focusing?
Yes. Just by focusing. And so our turnover rate in our database now is 1.2. And
Wow.
our score, our scorecard score is, I think it's 94.1. And we have zeros in every single category except for unqualified leads. So if you look at the 10-day, 10 steps in Brivity, that they score us on, there's not even a 1. Like there's no overdue tasks. There's nobody that hasn't, that's been on the website the last 30 days and doesn't get a call. There's nobody that's been on the website. So we just zeroed in on that. And it was amazing, but all of a sudden we start getting appointments and
what a concept. Okay. Wow.
I know, what a concept, huh? So and it's not me, it's just us meeting, we meet. Well, on Mondays, our concentration on Mondays is, okay, where we at? We kind of talk market report, market, like where's our market at and things like that. But then we also concentrate on the database and where we at in the database. And then we do a commitment on Mondays and we report our commitment from the previous week. Kind of like I took it from Stu, from our RAP. For those of you that are have been involved in RAP, that's a program. For those of you that aren't operating partners, us operating partners have a cadence that we work with Chris Stewart, our president, that keeps us accountable from bringing on new talent. And there's some criteria in there that we have to commit to, like just like you guys do. If you guys say, hey, I'm going to do 50 Brivity dials today or whatever, and then we have to report our results. So I actually took that cadence and I just tweaked it and put open houses in there. We include training. And our team, in order to be qualified for leads, you have to attend 2 trainings a week. They don't have to be live. They can be, recorded, picked up. And the Chris call on Friday does not count as a training, and that's mandatory.
Got it.
So if you don't do the trainings and the Chris call on Friday, you come out of and now with the lead pond, it's really easy. I just pull the agents out of there over the weekend, and then they don't get access to the lead pond on the following week.
Got it. And for everybody who may not be familiar with the word turnover, when you say 1.2 turnover, that means these leads are getting called every 1.2 months, essentially?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I looked at mine while you were talking. I got some people at 17 months. So your 5 months sounds really great compared to some of mine right now.
But Adelina, you probably have a way bigger database than me, but you also have a lot more agents than me. So my database is 7,000. Somebody just asked me that. I posted. I've got 7,000 some leads in my database. But I also only have I just released a agent yesterday. So I actually now have, there was 10 of us, including me. So now there's, 9 of us, including me. Sure. So I have 8 agents. And to be honest, I have 2 agents that I just moved to inactive status. They've got some personal issues. So They're not really participating, but they're not getting anything either. They're not getting any benefits or anything, but they're good people. There's just some personal stuff that they're going through right now. So really I've got 6 agents, but when we divided it up, it really was about what we were supposed to be doing anyway. It was like 50 dials a day.
Right.
I mean, when you actually take it and divide it up, and that's how we did it to start with. When our first concentration was, let's call everybody that hasn't had a phone call this year. And it sounded like a lot. I think when we did that deal, we had like almost 4,000 people that hadn't had a phone call this year. And so we just said, okay, we're going to do this over it was a 7-week period. We're doing it over a 7-week period. So you divide it by 7, and how many people do we have calling and how many days a week? And it really was a manageable thing when we chunked it down.
Right. Brandon asked, what are your average calls or contacts per week since you guys started hitting the ground running?
My agents are making close to monthly. They're making, it depends on the agent, but somewhere in the 1,200 to 1,600 range. Okay. And then our contacts, we're getting about, and Adelina would have this right down to the deal, but I'm looking at the same way I do. We're getting about double what we get in Mojo. So our contact rate in Mojo is 10 to 11, and our contact rate in Brivity is anywhere in the 20 to 22. I did 50 calls the other day. Let me just give you a good example. And here's something else that we do when we do the calls that's really helped. Okay. So we have a 3-step deal. Okay. So it's assuming, and I called 50 old home valuation leads the other day that we had all their information. Okay. I did this Monday myself. Okay. I called 50 of them. And I was able to talk to, I think it was 15. Yeah, I talked to 15. So I actually had pretty high, I just probably lucked out. I call it statistical clumping. That's my financial background. Sometimes you just get lucky. I had 15 that I actually talked to, and I had 12 more that responded back that I didn't get a hold of to begin with. But here's the way that we work it. It's a call, a text, and an email. Okay? So when we call somebody and we don't get a hold of them, we immediately send a text. And I'm going to tell you, since we started call, text, email, that's been the key.
Wow. Okay.
Because, and even, so some of those 12 that responded back to me later, I mean, a couple of them were, you know, one gal, for example, said, hey, Gail, this is my forever home. We're not, you know, probably, we're going to die here. We're never probably ever going to leave here. You know, but that was like the first time we'd gotten any response from her.
Oh, totally.
You know, so I was, you know, able to kick her back and said, hey, no problem. You know, I understand. I have a forever home too. You know, and just engage with her. And I just told her, hey, you know, do you mind if I check in periodically? And her answer was no, yeah, no problem, you know, whatever. But so my point is, I mean, I've had those, this is my forever home before.
Right.
I mean, I had one client that died in it, but his kid called me to sell the house, you know, because I'd kept in contact with his dad.
Right.
And, you know, his dad had my picture on my little magnet on his refrigerator. And when the child called me, he said, hey, I know you've been talking to my dad for quite a few years. You know, and he let me know he passed. Anyway, so that call, you know, and yes, we do leave voicemails. The only time we don't, somebody just asked, do we leave voicemails? The only time we don't leave voicemails until the third try is those new leads that come in.
Okay.
So we do that same cadence. I don't know if you guys use the, you know, the 10 days of pain where you call a couple times. If they don't answer, then you leave the voicemail on the third. You're trying to get them to pick up because they're curious.
Yeah, definitely. Going with your call, text, email, what does that quick text sound like?
The quick text is just the, it kind of depends on if they're a buyer lead or a seller lead. But basically it's just a quick, hey, I just left you a voicemail. You know, this is Gail with the Ben Kinney team at Keller Williams. I just left you a voicemail. I saw if they were on our, you know, website, buyer lead, for example. I saw you were looking at that house we do specific, not I saw you were on our website.
Right.
Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, so we do specific. We got real focused on that. You know, I tell them, you're going to either make a smart call or you're going to make a dumb call.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to make a smart text, you're going to make a dumb text, you're going to make a smart email. We have the template for the email. We have templates for emails laid out in our system that then they just insert, you know, like the address of a property. It doesn't even have to be the exact address. It can be, you know, hey, I saw that you were looking at that home over on Rose Lane. And we try to pick the house, if they've been on our website, that they've looked at more than once.
Right.
You know, you can usually see there's like when somebody's on your website a lot, you know, they might be looking at 5 houses, but there's normally, not always, but normally there's one that they've come back to 2 or 3 times. You know, so anyway, hey, I saw you were looking at, I've got some time coming up in the next day or 2. Would you like to go see it? We always end with a question.
Okay.
Okay, so we end all of our texts and all of our emails with a question, trying to get them to elicit a response back.
Right on. Right on. Hold on, I just saw a question. Do you send them the properties using that Brivity link website?
Yeah, we're using that too. You know, sometimes if it's, you know, if they've really looked at a property a lot, like I'll go in a lot of times and sometimes just see, you know, what properties they're looking at. And if I see that one that they've, like you said, looked at a lot, I'll actually send that over and then just write that same kind of text with it. Hey, I saw you were looking at this. That link goes over with a canned deal. We hardly ever use that canned deal that's in there, that there's an automatic deal that you can just leave it. That we usually change that.
Question, if I put my agent hat on right now, that sounds like a lot of work. Is it that it becomes faster because you do it often?
I think they become faster, they do it often, but here's the deal, Adelina, they said the same thing when they started, this is way too much work. And I said, well, let's just try it and see if we can get any results. And once they started seeing the results, all of a sudden it wasn't as much work.
Huh.
Results always make things seem easier, or maybe it's not as much work. If you're doing something, you're not getting results, then I think we become frustrated and, and don't want to do it as much.
Sure. It's interesting to me because, maybe it's just my team. You guys probably have perfect teams. Everybody.
No, we don't.
But we'll go a whole week with activities with no result, no appointment, 0 appointment.
Well, I mean, we've had works like that.
Okay.
I just tell them, hey, you know what? Next week's going to get better. And, here's the deal, Adelina. It's either a lot of works and no appointments, or no work and no appointments. Either way, it's no appointments.
Yeah. So after you call 3 times, let's go to new leads. You called 3 times, followed the system. What's your next move? What do you do after that?
Well, I mean,
A lot of people
you got to remember that now there's a difference between, okay, are these watch whatever? If they're in the pond and they're not qualified, they just stay there.
Okay.
And then they just rotate back through. I mean, we've had people that have been called by one agent in our system that somebody else converts them. I mean, Dara's last deal, I think I told you, I wrote that one in, I don't know how many of you saw it, but he's a newer agent. He just closed on this just goes to prove, okay, he just closed on a deal that had been in our database since 2018.
Okay.
An agent that's no longer on my team actually met with this client, actually had an appointment with the client. It was everything was all, you could see it in there. She met with them. He took her meeting. They were going to sell their house back in 2018. She went and met with them, and he told her he had an agent that was a friend and that he wasn't using anybody besides that agent.
Okay.
So she basically gave up on him.
Okay.
So he ended up, in our pond. And 2 other times, 2 of my current agents have spoken to him. And basically, he told them the same exact thing, and they basically gave up.
Okay.
Dara called him in, I think it was October, September, and he told Dara the same thing. And Dara said, well, if nothing else, wouldn't you like a second opinion? I mean, even if you don't hire me, I'd be willing to come over and give you my opinion of what you can do to get your house ready to go and get top dollar for it.
Right.
And I'm okay if you don't hire me. I just want to do what's best for you.
Okay.
So Dara went over there with that attitude.
Okay.
Gave him our presentation.
Sure.
And I then later went over afterwards, but he actually told Dara when he left there, thanked him very much. And Dara said, if you ever need anything, make sure that you reach out. And Dara just kind of dripped on him like once a month until he listed in January. We closed in February. So I think it was till the end of December. And the guy called Dara up and said, I've changed my mind. My wife and I cannot believe the amount of service that you gave us, not expecting anything in return.
Wow.
And hired Dara to sell his house.
There you go.
So sometimes if we just come from a contribution,
Right.
We get the results that we want. But really, this business isn't about the results we want. This business is really about serving our clients.
Agree. Now, are you guys using the Brivity dialer? Are you calling manually?
Yes.
Combination?
Yeah, we're using the Brivity dialer. I had one agent that fought me on it for a long time.
Okay.
But he's actually now using it.
Why do people not use the Brivity dialer? What would be the reason?
Oh, he had every excuse in the world. I don't know why he wasn't using it. He could dial faster. It doesn't work. He has an Android phone. It sucks. You know, it was made for Apple and, you know, blah, 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 blah. But he finally, I kind of put my foot down and said, look, you're going to do it. And you're going to do it for a week. And then if it really doesn't work and you really, what you're telling me is true, then we'll circle back and do it. Well, once he actually started using it, he realized that, yeah, it is pretty cool.
Got it.
So,
When you're working with seller leads in particular, anything that you would share with us that you think is smart that potentially we may not be doing that is working for you guys?
well, we do a lot of door knocking. I don't know how much door knocking you guys are doing.
Not very much. So
Yeah.
feel free to tell us what that looks like. 'Cause it
So
sounds
we're
like
still,
so-
we're still using our bags.
okay.
So, and I also, for those agents that really committed to it, I did make them flat, door hangers.
Okay.
In fact, there's the place one that is in there is in the system now. I actually helped them design that because I wanted something for my agents that really committed to door knocking.
So
But-
when do you guys door knock? So a seller lead comes in, you don't get
Seller lead comes in and we can't get a hold of them, then we door knock.
and what do you say?
Okay. Or if
That awkward?
we do that, no, we do the apology script.
Okay.
You know, if we can't get the information, we just door knock. Hi, Adelina. Hi, I'm Gail. I'm from Keller Williams. You actually look like you needed a valuation on your home, but for some reason our system glitched, which happens once in a while. I don't know how, but it didn't capture all the information we need. And so I just wanted to stop by so you didn't think that we dropped the ball.
Mhm.
And we take a little package thing. I think you guys I know that Dallas has them because they kind of took my deal and made it way more fancy. Mine's still pretty rough. Mine's pretty rough, but they work and they're cheap. And so if we will take a CMA, if the home is, if we can, so usually the agent will drive by first. If they're going to take a CMA, I always tell them, I do not want you taking a CMA to the house that you haven't seen because it can cause lots of problems unless you drive by first and get an idea of what that house looks like. And secondary, and it's in an area that we can get good comps on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then also you're going to make that range really broad,
Right.
like really broad, you know. But normally when you drive, you guys all know this, normally when you drive by a home, you can kind of get a sense of what that inside looks like based on the outside.
Totally.
You know, so then if that's the case, and it's in a, you know, a standard cookie cutter neighborhood, and you can get really good comps on it, then we will actually take a CMA with us.
Okay.
But normally we're just taking our resume, a letter, because if they're not there, we're going to leave that little bag on the, you know, on their door handle or whatever. We take some little thing that we're giving out, whatever, you know, like this time of year, we're almost to the end of calendars. But we send out calendars with everybody's business card on it. So we usually put some kind of little thing of value in there. The letter is hand signed by the agent. So they all have their own letter. It's just simple. I don't even remember what it says. I haven't looked at that because we roll those up into we roll our resume and our letter up in and then tie a ribbon around it like a scroll. Mm-hmm. and stick it in the bag. And then we've got these little, they're like the things you get at a wedding that have things on it. We just put we have a cheesy little thing. I like to be a real estate lifesaver, whatever, put a few lifesavers in it. But really that's to hold their business cards. So we also put some extra business cards in there.
Okay.
And just to drop off something. And it has our branding and, you know, it has the agents, has our office, you know, we have compliance. We have to, you know, so we have our office information and all that on there. And then really, and then the agent's information. So they're agent specific.
Right.
So when the agent goes out, they're agent specific to the agent.
All this sounds like work. So
It is a lot of work, but here's the deal, Adeline, we've been doing, so some of this stuff we've been doing long enough that, like last year I think I had 6 listings. Yeah, I know there were 6. I had 6 listings last year, me, that were out of the blue calls. 4 of those, I had never spoken to the clients. And they just called me out of the blue because we had been dripping on them. The earliest one was 2018 and the most recent one was 2020.
Got it. Okay.
So we'd been dripping on them with market reports and whatever all that time. And every time it happens, they call me and act like they know me. Like I'm scrambling to try to figure out, if I'm in my front of my computer and they say their name, usually I can bring them up quick enough to, whatever. But the last one happened when I was in Hawaii on the beach. And this guy calls me. And he was a sell and a buy. I helped him. And he was the oldest one, actually. He actually came in 2018. I had never spoken to this guy. And here's the other funny thing about him is I had tracked down his email on Ben Verify, but I didn't even know it was right. I could never get his phone number. I called a bunch of times, but it never got the right number. Because if I get the right number a lot of times and I'm thinking, okay, this might be, I'll put him in my phone. So if they do call, I'll know what it is, But this guy, we had his email, we had his address. I had dropped off something out at his place, way back. But anyway, he just called me out of the blue and, hey, this is Mike. And I'm like, Mike who? And he's, and then it was funny because I'm in Hawaii and I'm on the phone. I put him on speaker and I'm trying to get on the Brivity Go to put his name in there to kind of see where he lives, But anyway, so when you do it long enough, then, those things start to kind of just happen then.
So a strategic question from Elizabeth. When you are investing in these seller valuation leads, are you kind of keeping it to a specific area so that your agents can be able to drive to them, or is there any strategy behind it right now?
Yeah, well, yeah, well, first off, right now we're not buying leads again.
Oh, okay.
Because we'll start back up probably again when these guys are getting to the point now where we're starting to get enough turnover and stuff. And I promised him I'd turn the leads back on. But yes, we do buy specific area leads.
Okay.
So, and here's the other thing, what we do is the agents actually we divide them up. We kind of divide and conquer.
Right.
Okay. So when we're getting valuation leads and we're starting to get a lot of home ones, we'll just get all the deals ready and then we'll just divide and conquer. We basically just say, okay, let's look at all the leads we have to do. And maybe Gail's going to do this area of town and there's 20 baskets or 20 deals that need to be dropped off. And then we just map quest them out so that I'm doing this area and somebody else is doing this area and somebody else is doing that area. So that we can easily cover it and one person's not driving,
all over Kingdom Come.
all over the place. Yeah.
What advice would you give to, I'd like your take because you have, number one, you've been doing this now for 7 years, right? The real estate industry itself. And then you bring, I don't even know how many years of just, life experience, professional experience. So two questions. The first would be advice for a new agent. And then the second question, advice for a experienced, super busy agent. Any advice from your perspective on either of those or both of those?
Well, the new agent's easy for me. Probably what the answer is going to be. Follow the model and the system and put as much effort into it as you want the results out of it. I mean, it's as simple as that. It really is. People ask me all the time because a lot of people think that I did those 79 deals because I was old and I had a bunch of friends. I mean, I had one sphere deal in those 79 deals. One. So my biggest, I have my breakdown of of where that business came from. But the top three things of where that came from was open houses, canceled and expireds, and agent referrals.
Wow.
Now this is interesting on the agent referral part. So how does a new agent get a bunch of agent referrals?
Right.
That is totally from the team.
Mhm.
I didn't get those agent referrals. Nobody knew me.
Well,
The
shoot, Gail,
the leverage of the team is what got me those agent referrals. So
I mean,
but
you
the
were
other
also doing like 28 freaking open houses in December.
right,
So
right.
I'd give you a
26.
shit ton of agent referrals too.
Right. And that's the other part. That's the other part is like I push the agent referrals that come into me as the team. I don't take any of those. Very rarely do I take them. Let's put it that way. Once in a while, I'll have somebody on the other side call me and say, Gail, we need you to take this one.
Sure.
Basically, if you don't take it, we ain't sending it, kind of thing. But for the most part, all the agent referrals that come into our team go to my agents.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, I don't know how some of the other partners are, I don't care. I just know that. But that being said, those referrals go to my agents that are doing the work.
Absolutely.
They don't necessarily go to my top agents. They go to my agents that are doing the work, and I round robin them unless there's some kind of, I've got agents that kind of live in the different areas too. And I've got like one agent that doesn't really want to travel here or there or whatever. So, in that case, then that takes into consideration.
Sure.
But my business came from open houses and canceled and expires. I had 18 canceled and expires listings that first year in business.
I believe it.
So that was kind of that was my concentration.
You know why I like that, Gail? Because we are at 2017 levels right now. Most of our, if you're in Texas,
yeah,
I don't know about Washington State, but if you're in Texas, guys, if you haven't realized that we're at 2017 levels, you're about 3 months behind, right? The amount of expireds that we have, the amount of closings that we have, when you look at a 10-year, go into your MLS stats, look at a 10-year, and we are at 2017 levels. And we thought 2017 was a great year.
Well, and I tell my agents that right now too, especially those that have been through the last, I don't have a lot of them that, Sarah, Nicole, Brendan, they kind of came through the craziness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I tell them, I said, this is the year I started.
Yeah.
There's tons of opportunity out there, you guys. It's the year I started. So open houses, so that would be the new, what I would give the new agent.
Okay.
The old agents, the people that have been in the business forever, I would tell them it's time to get back in the game and get to work, because I think a lot of agents that are seasoned and have a lot of experience have also come through that last couple of years, and it's been kind of easy. Mm-hmm. So I see a lot of agents in our office that aren't rolling up their sleeves and getting back, to, hey, we're back to normal now, and it's time to get back to work. And the other thing I think with seasoned agents, well, there's a couple things with seasoned agents.
Oh, tell us, we're on that. We're on that.
The one
Don't hold back now.
Yeah, the one thing with seasoned agents, well, the big thing with seasoned agents is, hey, you're never too old to learn. I'm 66 years old and I'm still learning something new every day. And I love it. And I think that's one of the things that I love about being part of this organization. Like, I've never been part of an organization that's been like this one, as far as like the training and the mentorship and the coaching and the opportunity to learn, and from just people all across, and helpful. Everybody's so helpful and whatever. The other thing that bothers me about this industry, and it's usually about seasoned agents, and this isn't just because I'm at partner level now. I've never understood this since the beginning. When Ben first sat down with me as a brand new, didn't even have my license yet. And I was just thinking about it. And Ben was gracious enough. That's probably my kid got me in the door on that one. Was gracious enough to sit down with me because he wouldn't have otherwise. Let's be honest, and kind of explained the business for me. And I do this same thing with every person that I speak with. And took his old white piece of paper with his stupid Sharpie and put a line down the middle and said, because I had no idea how you guys made money. I had no idea. I mean, I have bought a lot of houses, and I knew I paid a commission, but once I paid the commission, I had no clue what happened afterwards. I didn't know anything about splits and caps and all that crap. And so Ben went through that entire presentation and showed me, okay, you 100%, and this is the cap, and once you cap, you get, you get all of it, and and if you're going to really run it like a business, this is what you're going to pay, and and then did the thing. And if you're over here on the team, and he didn't care. He said to me after he's done, he goes, what do you want to do? You want to go downstairs? He called it downstairs because his brokerage in Bellingham is downstairs. Or do you want to join a team? He didn't even try to get me to join his team. He said, I can hook you up with a good team closer to where you live. And he said, do you have any questions? And I said, I have one. And he goes, you have one question? I said, yeah. And I said, what's the net profit of a real estate agent that is running a real estate business? Like a businessman, not some agent that sells a house here and there. And he said, I've never had anybody ask me that. And I said, well, what? And here's the deal, Adelina. I've been in business long enough. I know profit margins in just about every major business across the US, whether it's restaurant, retail, hospitality, whatever. I know the profit margins of those industries. I didn't know the profit margin in a real estate business.
Okay.
And he said to me, he said, Gail, he said, most real estate businesses run like a business, make 20 to 25%. He said, the better ones make 30 to 35. And the ones and he goes, and these are people that have been in the business for a long time, have really honed down their expenses, really know what the hell they're doing or whatever, make 50% or 40%. He said, and anybody that tells you they make 50% or more, he said, they're liars. And I said, I believe that. I said, because I know that the average business in the US net profit is in the 25 to 30% range. And I know there's a lot of companies that don't make any money. And I know if you're making 35% in any industry, you're doing damn good. And he said, why did you ask that? And I said, because why in the hell would I want to be an independent agent when I can be on your team and make 50% and not have any of the worry? And I said, I don't care about how much the split is. The only thing I care about is how much money am I going to put in my bank account. So it was an easy decision for me. But the funny thing about that is when I meet with agents now, and that's the first question that comes out of their mouth, I know that they're not the right agent for me.
It's a good point. It's a good point. I always tell Ben, because at the partnership level, right, it's a 50-50 split on profit,
right,
just exactly the same, right?
Right.
50-50 runs across the board, right? And I tell Ben often, if his company was big enough, I would have taken 5%. I mean, 5% of $1 billion.
Absolutely.
I mean, like I'll take my 50 million all day long, right? It's
right.
It's not about the percentage, right? Which is, it's really interesting because this whole conversation has been about, are the leads good or are they bad? Is the split good or is it bad, right? Well, it's the perspective that you look at it from.
Yeah, it's a perspective issue. It's the watermelon or the grape thing. I tell the story all the time. I come out of the home improvement industry. Once a year, we used to run a sale at our store called the Founders Day sale, and we gave 10% off everything in the store. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but right. When you're selling 2x4s, I can tell you right now that 10% off puts you at about a 1% margin.
Right.
And when you give 10% off 2x4s to the construction guys, they're going to come in and wipe your ass out. So we used to have semi trucks lined up at our stores full of 2x4s on the day that we did this sale, because we knew that we were going to get wiped out on those crazy 2x4s. But here's the funny story about that. That day of the year, we put more gross dollar profit into our bank account on those 2x4s than we did the entire year. We made 1% on those 2x4s on that one day a year. And typically we made around 11 to 12% throughout the rest of the year. But the gross profit dollars, not the percentage, the gross profit dollars that one day outweighed the entire rest of the year.
Such a great perspective.
Because of the volume that we did that day.
Well, okay, so while we're on this, and feel free if you need to get off, you're welcome to. While we're on this mastermind topic, here's because you brought it up, here's something that I hear often. Why would I want to sell 60 houses if I could just sell 20 houses and make the same amount of money? Like, I hear that a lot. 60 houses sounds like a lot more work. Why would I even want to do that? Well,
you're not going to sell 60 houses and then sell 20 and make the same amount of money, but I mean, that math doesn't add up. I don't believe, well, I mean, maybe you could, maybe that's not for you. I mean, Adelina, I don't have the answer to that. I mean, 30 and 60, why would I want to sell 60? And there's more than selling the houses though to this business. Okay. So there's more than, getting up. I don't get up every day to go to work to sell the houses, to be honest.
Okay.
I get up every day to go to work to be with my agents who've become almost like family. So I get up every day to go to work to help them enhance their life.
Right.
It's not for everybody. It isn't. It's not for everybody. We've got lots of great solo agents in our office that are, great people, and I love them to death. And, if I have somebody that I can't handle or we can't handle as a team, I'd probably pass them off to those agents. But I believe that person that could sell, that says why, well, first off, that's a bunch of BS anyway, because normally when you get to 60 or whatever, you're bringing on leverage. Okay. So you aren't going to work as hard. You know what I mean? You're going to have more time. Anybody that's selling, let's use 30 and 60 as an example. So anybody that's selling 30 houses, is most people selling 30 and then they get maybe somewhere between 30 and 48. They're going to be working all the time. I mean, it's like, okay, your life. I mean, to be honest, I didn't have any leverage in the beginning. I mean, I worked my butt. I mean, Adelina, that 79 houses didn't come, with nothing. I didn't have any time off. I worked 7 days a week for, a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only time off I took was that week with my grandbabies. That was it. So I got to that point though, where the leverage comes into effect.
Right.
So I can get to 60 with the proper leverage, make more money actually, and have more time. So what's your time worth? My per dollar hour is going to go up.
It's a good question to write down. What's your time worth? Right on. And Elizabeth nailed it. I always think of it of, if you, let's say that you did close 60 a year, over 5 years, that's 300 past clients, right?
Oh yeah,
What do you think those past clients do? Number
Absolutely.
one, they buy again and they sell again. Number two, they refer you. If you're selling 20 a year in 5 years, first of all, 20 a year as an independent agent is like not realistic. Like National Association of Realtors says 10 years experience, you're closing 10 to 12. Like that is reality. But let's pretend you're great and you close 20, right? That's 100 clients over 5 years, right? The person with 300 past clients is going to win over the person with the 100 past clients. It's just math. It's like if Gail and I both have the same piece of land, but she's got 300 acres and I got 100 acres, and it's the same land, same city, sitting next to each other, Gail's going to have way more fruit than I will, just because her plot of land is just freaking bigger.
Yeah.
Something to consider is like, If you're looking for a great year, no problem. If you're looking for a great career, man, yeah, right on.
Yeah, no, the referral, that's a good point that Elizabeth made. The referral business is crazy because over 80% of my business now is referrals.
I love that. Right on.
So,
We work
you
for
know,
it. Right on.
so
Man.
that's where that comes from. That just has that big gigantic database behind it.
Gail, will you be at Built How? Will
Yes,
people-
yes,
Okay,
yes.
they'll be able to come and hang out with you. You're probably gonna be in the front row. Gail is a front row girl. You're in the first or second row all the time. So
Mhm.
if you are going to Built How and you want to give her a hug, she will be there.
I'll be in the front row.
There you go. There you go. Do you want to pop in to chat your contact information? So
Sure.
we have it. This ran longer, but it's such a great mastermind. It's not every day that we get somebody who's got not just longevity in the real estate business, but longevity in life in general that has a different perspective from our millennial Gen Z perspective. And nothing wrong with that. Everybody brings great value, right? But it's not every day that I get this version of value. So super appreciative. Save her in your phone, you guys. And what areas do you cover? You're Washington State, right?
Well, we call it the South Sound. Basically, it's south of Seattle, clear down to we kind of butt up to Jacqueline. So it's
Okay.
Centralia, Chehalis, and then up the peninsula, up the Hood Canal and Gig Harbor. So Tacoma, Olympia,
Okay, basically,
Federal
when
Way.
you have a referral for south of Seattle, Gail should be your first call.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, if you call me for anything in Washington, we're really good here about passing it to the right person. Tamara's team and I butt up to each other, and we've got some new partners that are in that mix too. Kristen in West Seattle and Jacqueline, and we all are really good about making sure that we take care of the clients in the best way possible. And if it's not our team, then we'll hook you to the team that it is.
I love that. Thank
Yeah.
you for the mastermind this morning. You're amazing.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Guys, we will see you all
Okay.
next week. We have Jake DeRosa next week. And if you know Jake,
Ooh.
he converts really well. He's a conversion king. He's been in the business a very long time. He's from Sacramento, so I wouldn't miss him. He's also a non-bullshit person, so you'll have fun with that one. Get your coffee ready next Thursday, and we'll see you there. Appreciate you all. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Put some houses,
Thank
change a lot
you.
of lives.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.